This is Bars at Work, where leadership and personal development meets hip hop.
Let's go to the next bar.
Dojang, you're welcome inside, but gotta come in fast. But don't think or blink, flash, because you're coming last.
Yo, Dojang. So I had to ask you what Dojang is and the imagery of that and how that connects to flow state.
Yeah.
So tell me about that, because there's a personal experience here with this.
Yeah, 100%. So my girls are in Taekwondo. So the Dojang is a place where in Taekwondo where you come to learn, to train, to be taught and get your reps in. So we talk about 10,000 hours of mastery. That's the place where you're coming in, you're practicing your forms, you're practicing your defense moves, you're practicing offense. And that's the place where that's all formed and cultivated. Once you've done that for a time and you start progressing into advanced levels and mastery, I say in here, don't think or blink, flash, because you're coming last. So even the imagery in the Dojang, when I see my girls sparring with each other, if you're thinking when you're sparring with another human being, you're going to get kicked in the face. You're going to take shots that you didn't want to take because you're thinking too much when the other person is just reacting. So the reaction mode and the flow state comes when you put in all those hours and you don't have to think about what you're doing because you can almost feel it. You can anticipate the opponent and what they're doing.
It makes so much sense, like that repetition, getting out of your head and creating the environment and the system around you where it becomes that a muscle memory, and it's just you're flowing, you're in your flow.
Yeah.
and doing that. What systems do you put in place to get there? Like, what are the systems that we need to put into place? Because you talk about getting into this flow state, and I just curious if, like, it's not just, hey, it just naturally happens. What are some systems, things, practical things that you do to create that environment?
Great question, man. The environment is very critical because it can't be hindered. Like you need, and it's going to look different for everyone, but I think there's a level of quiet, or at least a controlled environment where whenever you're engaged in that activity, you're not constantly interrupted, that you're not distracted, whether it's by an individual, whether it's by sounds, your devices, phones dinging and stuff. It's like you really have to be intentional to create a closed circuit atmosphere in order to hone in and do those things, or else every time you start getting into a flow state and it's broken, you're never really achieving that flow state. That flow state is going to always be interrupted. So it really is controlled environment, shutting off distractions, turning off alarms, and even letting the people around you know, like, hey, I'm about to be doing this. So if you're at work, there's a concept, there's a book called 5 Gears, and it talks about the various gears that we are in order to flow and function as a human being. First gear being me time that I need to really just recharge. Second gear is being intimate in a relationship, and that's just just close proximity, just getting to know somebody, deep conversation. Third gear is just social, small talk. Fourth gear is getting tasks done and checking off things, and then fifth gear is focus time. That's the time where you're building that mastery. In order to be in fifth gear, you have to have no distractions. So you have to tell people, hey, team, I'm about to be in fifth gear for the next hour and a half. Please don't interrupt unless it's absolutely necessary, type of thing.
I like
so
that.
When you have that language with your team, you can carve out flow development time throughout your workday because everyone understands what that looks like.
Yeah, I like that framework, and just getting into that fifth gear. It takes intentionality, create the space, remove the distractions, let other people know you're trying to move into. Yeah, you have to. It's almost like you have to create the boundaries for flow.
You do
the boundaries, right?
You do. That's imagery right there. You need the boundaries in order for the flow to take place within those boundaries.
Right. I mean, you hear about people that go internationally, or they go into the woods to write a book, and they do different things to get their mind state into a place of less distraction, more creativity. Whatever your zone is, if you're a leader and you're trying to be inspired of, like, get into my flow state of leadership, it's like I wake up in the morning, I spend the time, and I hear people reading like you know, the latest on Wall Street or whatever it is, or I spend 15 minutes reading the latest leadership book just to immerse yourself and get your mind prepped to be in flow.
And I always hear people talk about the weekend. Like I've heard people say, oh yeah, you know, wrote this book or most of it over the weekend, or I read this book over the weekend. And I always thought that was so amazing. Growing up, I wasn't a reader. I didn't start really reading until, you know, once college age, and I got a different appreciation. But people that can just read a book in a weekend, I'm like, that sounds so great to be able to do. I can listen to an audio book in a weekend, but I don't have the attention span.
The attention span and like the focus time.